Hi, all. I'm Professor Tina Good, and we had a terrific discussion about girl on today's Zoom session. So I thought I would try to make a PowerPoint and discuss what we talked about in our Zoom session today. I won't be able to capture everything that we talked about, but I wanted to give you that we're not able to participate some of that information. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And let's begin our discussion about Girl by Jamaica Kincaid. First of all, you may have noticed when you were reading it, that was a very different sort of narrative style than what you're used to reading. This is what we call stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness is just what you might think, right? When your consciousness is streaming, very much like when you were free writing and you were just writing down everything that came into your mind. This type of genre is a narrative writing meant to emulate or copy, right, that type of thought process. It is meant to look like it is reflecting fluid thoughts and emotions of the narrator. Now, I don't want you to think that that's actually what happened, that Jamaica Kincaid sat down and just started free writing and then published it. But it is meant to emulate that. It very well could have started out as stream of consciousness, but trust me, this was revised and made into a professional narrative piece by the time that it was published. Therefore, as a narrative, we should still look for essences of plot, right? Buildup, climax, conclusion. For example, in this story, it's going to be very important for us to look to see where is the climax of the story. What is the decision made by the narrator at the moment of that climax? Is the conclusion a result of that climactic moment? Stream of consciousness writing is generally a genre most often used by women writers and writers from groups who are considered non-dominant in the culture. Why? Why would non-dominant writers choose to use this? Well, if we think about it, when you try to read this, right, it was not something that you were used to reading. Therefore, it disrupted your normal reading pattern, right? Disrupt. Makes you sit up and pay attention. Now, there's a risk to this kind of writing because you very well may go like, I'm not reading this. This doesn't make any sense to me, and you stop reading it. Fine, that's fine. Writer's really not interested in that particular audience. But those people who sit up and do pay attention for whatever reasons, whether it's because they find this interesting, because they want to be a detective and try to figure out what's going on, or because they connect to it in some sort of way experientially, that is who the writer is interested in capturing, right? In order to build what we call a community of readers, right? So using art, using literature to build a community through which these common themes can be talked about. So the first question we have to ask, therefore, since we do know it is a narrative, is who is the narrator, right? And it does seem that the girl is the narrator, but paradoxically, the girl's voice seems to be silenced in the story that she tells. She seems to be recounting all of the commands that her mother has told her. So it seems like the mother is the dominant voice, and very well, while the girl was growing up, she probably felt that way. But however, in the actual narrative that we're reading, it's actually the mother's voice that is, while seemingly most dominant, is completely silent, because we are getting the mother's voice through the girl's perspective. Once again, it is very important to understand that the girl as the narrator is not the same person as the author, right? That Jamaica Kincaid is not the girl, okay? The girl is a character created by Jamaica Kincaid. She may have a lot in common with the girl, but nevertheless, they are not the same. However, there are some theories that suggest that understanding the historical and cultural and biographical information about any author can give us additional insights into her stories. So, what can we know about Jamaica Kincaid? Well, a quick Google search will show you that Jamaica Kincaid is actually still alive. She was raised in Antigua, a Caribbean island, and when she was a young adult, moved to New York City. She became, when she first moved here, she was an au pair, taking care of other people's children as a live-in nanny. And then eventually, even though she did not intend to become a writer, developed a skill for writing and eventually became a writer for the very famous magazine called The New Yorker. She published award-winning novels throughout her career, most notably A Small Place, which is specifically about Antigua, and an autobiography of my mother. Interestingly enough, an autobiography is supposed to be a story that you write about yourself, a biography, right? But she says it's an autobiography of my mother. Therefore, writing about herself is also writing about her mother. I'm blurring those boundaries. We therefore know that her themes often focus on the mother-daughter relationships, as well as, because Antigua was colonized by the British, post-colonial impacts on colonized cultures, right? What is that impact on the culture, as well as what is that impact on the individual growing up in that transitional time and thereafter? So what do you think? Does this information give us insight into understanding the story of Girl? When we first begin this story, just like with free writing, we notice that it opens up with very, very specific and concrete details. It is a command, right? Which we eventually come to understand as the mother, right? But it starts out with, wash the white clothes on Monday and put them on the stone heap. Wash the colored clothes on Tuesday and put them on the clothesline to dry. Don't walk barehead in the hot sun. So what is the difference between these two sets of commands that follow right after each other? One set appears to be a set of chores, right? Wash the white clothes on Monday and put them on a stone heap. Wash the white clothes on Tuesday and put them on the clothesline, right? So this might suggest, given that we know that Jamaica Kincaid is alive, that either in Antigua, they don't have washing machine and dryers, or that this family cannot afford washing machine and dryers, right? So, but here's how to do the chores, and these chores must be done in order to sustain the family. Got to do laundry, right? And the girl is tasked with that responsibility. But then immediately after we see the detail, don't walk barehead in the hot sun. That is not a chore, right? That is something that is guiding the girl to take care of herself. So we see interspersed within the story these commands, what to do as a girl, a young woman in sustaining the family, and presumably later on when she becomes a wife, but also don't forget to take care of yourself, and this is how to do it. So then what is the role of mother in Western culture, right? If we were to think about it just, Antigua aside, but, what is the role of mother? What do we expect of mothers, right, in our society? The mother is to protect the children, right? So that mama bear kind of idea. They are also meant to instruct the child, right? Instruct the child on what needs to be done in order for that child to be successful in society, right? What are the value systems that the mother wants to put onto the child? What are the belief systems? What are the chores? What are those things that are important for that girl to survive and be happy, perhaps, in the culture in which the girl is growing up to be a woman? And of course, perhaps the most well-known is that the mother is nurturing, the mother is loving, the mother takes care, the mother washes and loves and strokes and takes care if they're sad. And so they're very nurturing. So what do you think? Does the mother in this story fulfill her roles as mother? Would you want her for your mother? Why or why not? Then we go down a little bit further and we see this line that says, don't sing Benna in Sunday school. Why not? What is Benna? Okay, at this point, you should be looking this up. What is Benna? You don't know what that is? You should look that up. right? And we find that Bena is a cultural song, is a cultural dance that comes out of the Caribbean islands. So why can't they sing it in Sunday school? What is Sunday school? Right? What we know about Sunday school is that it is a Christian situation, you know, that where children go perhaps on Sundays, right, to get Christian instruction. So why can't Bena, a cultural song, right, be sung in Sunday school, a Christian school? We see very clearly here, there is a culture clash being represented, right? Which culture is dominant? Well, if Bena is being silenced, it can't be the Caribbean culture. It must be the Christian culture that has been brought in through British imperialism when the island was colonized. And then we go on and we get to this provocative language given by the mother, you know, the slut that I know you are so bent on becoming. She calls her daughter a slut. What does the word slut mean? Well, usually it means to be sexually promiscuous, but is that the only thing that she's worried about here? If so, then why couldn't she sing Bena in Sunday school? Is that contributing to her sluttiness, right? Do you think that the girl is a slut, right? Is her hemlines have anything to do with her being a slut? Does her playing marbles with boys have anything to do with her being a slut, right? We are shocked by this fact that the mother consistently is saying, I know you are bent on becoming a slut. Is it inevitable that the girl will become a slut as defined by this culture, which of course may not have anything to do with her sexuality? Why is it so important that the mother does not want her daughter to be thought of as a slut? Then we keep going on and we see all of this information about appearance, right? We see this is how you smile to someone you don't like very much. This is how you smile to someone you don't like at all. This is how you smile to someone you like completely. The idea is that, you know, you must always smile, but there are messages in that smile, that there are ways of smiling, right? That doesn't really mean smiling. And so appearance, and yet there's this subversiveness in the smiling. This is how you set a table for tea. This is how you set a table for dinner. This is how you set a table for dinner with an important guest, right? So even how you set a table reflects the appearance of things, right? And the mother is very, you know, intentional on teaching her daughter these things about appearance. So we keep going on and you know, and again, more references to not being a slut, right? And then we get this fascinating, don't pick people's flowers. You might catch something. What does that mean? You might catch something. Don't throw stones at blackbirds because it might not be a blackbird at all. What does that mean? And what we began to see is, you know, again, this sort of culture clash, right? This idea of the Obeah religion, if you will, the Obeah belief system where, you know, spirits could be imbued in things like birds, things like flowers, that the appearance of things are not to be trusted, and that they could come back to harm you, right, if you harm them. And so we see that although the mother is surrendering to the Christian belief system by, at least in appearance, that Obeah belief, or, you know, for you, you might think of it as voodoo. It's not quite the same, but it's close. The Obeah belief permeates her daily life. That even though this Christian faith has come in and it's dominant, it has not eradicated the faith system that the mother grew up with, and she is still putting that on to the daughter. Right. So immediately after that, you know, we see this buildup, right? We see, you know, all of these details that seem sort of European in nature. This is how you set a table for tea, et cetera, et cetera. And then we start really getting into that Obeah belief, the Caribbean belief, the African belief, right? And then mixed in, we're like seeing this buildup. And finally, we come to the climax, right? This is how to make good medicine for a cold. This is how to make good medicine to throw away a child before it even becomes a child. This is how to catch a fish. This is how to throw back a fish so you don't like, and that way something bad won't fall on you. Okay, so again, this idea of like finding a way to infuse the belief system of the Obeah into the daily life. However, in the middle of all that is, this is how to make good medicine to throw away a child. Right now, this could tie back to the idea that, she's convinced that her daughter is going to be a slut, or it could simply be she is trying to find a way to help the daughter have some control over her body in this culture where she has no control over her body at all. This moment of empowerment, it's hidden, right? It's infused. It's certainly not transparent or out there, but she's giving this interesting piece of advice, right, in the middle of all of this stuff about the Obeah faith, right after all of this information about appearance. And then what follows? This is how man bullies you. This is how to love him. This is how to bully a man. This is how a man bullies you. This is how to love a man, right? And so again, getting the girl to find some power within a situation where she as a girl or as a woman is virtually powerless. And then this great line, this is how to spit up in the air if you feel like it. And this is how to move quick so that it doesn't fall on you, right? That moment of joy. She's actually teaching her daughter how to find a moment of joy in this otherwise oppressed situation. And we have this hope for the girl that she can have some empowerment in her life, that she can find some joy, right? And then this is how to make ends meet. Always squeeze bread to make sure that it's fresh. And then we get the line from the girl. But what if the baker won't let me feel the bread? And the mother replies, you mean to say that after all, you are really going to be the kind of woman who the baker won't let near the bread? And our hopes are dashed, because we know that either the girl is not going to conform and she's going to be ostracized, or that there is no hope but for the girl to be ostracized, that no matter what the girl does, that the baker will not let her feel the bread, right? That she will not ever be able to be a part of this culture in a way that she feels like she fits in or that she's empowered, right? So I hope that you have found this video useful. I hope it helps you understand girl a little bit more, and how to get at the meaning of girl, how to start understanding close reading, things to look up, right? And how to, again, keep following that narrative format in order to achieve understanding. I hope you have a good day, and we'll post more of these videos as we continue the stories.